Well, hello out there from the Vortex. This is Matt.
And this is Taylor.
How's it going, buddy?
It's going awesome.
Yeah. Good. As you all know, you're here for Voices from the Vortex, our weekly podcast about all things Doctor Who, and we have an amazing episode to talk about today.
Oh, the best. The best. So, the best of the season so far. Yeah.
Oh, by far and wide.
Yeah, it was just, the whole thing was just great.
We talked about it last week. We've both been waiting for this as long as we can, since we first heard about it. This has been sort of the episode to watch, and it did not disappoint whatsoever for me. I'm glad I waited.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of really cool stuff in this one, and stuff I didn't see coming, and just some really cool visual stuff too. Just it was all beautiful, just the stuff that they showed it, and just a really great episode all around. So bravo,
bravo, well done, Moffat.
Yes, well done.
Yeah. So let's dive into it.
Okay, I'll recap real quick. We got the Van Balen brothers, and they're a salvage team, and they sort of get the TARDIS in their magnograb beam, and the Doctor
causes everything to go haywire.
Yeah, it goes nuts. The Doctor gets out of there, but Clara's still inside, and he says, "Okay, hey, you guys can have the ship, but you got to help me, get her out of there." And then they get in there, and then he sort of tricks them, like, "Oh, hey, I'm going to set the self-destruct. We've got 30 minutes to get her out of here."
Yeah.
And, they're like, "You're crazy." But he's like,
he gives them longer than 30 to begin with.
Right. And then he goes, "We want to try for 15?" And they're like, "No way."
Wah, wah, wah.
And then, meanwhile, Clara, she's sort of running around through the TARDIS, and there's these sort of zombie type creatures that are chasing her around. So she goes in, and she's running around, and she goes into like this library type area, and she sees this book, this history of the Time War, and she sees his name basically.
Wait, now hold on. I will say that could be a misleading. That could be a red herring. She does mention something later that kind of supports it, but it's always possible that she saw something completely different.
Right.
But yes, it would appear that she saw his name.
Yeah. And so they end up finding her. So they have to get to but then it turns out to be an actual problem with the TARDIS. The engines are damaged, and they got to get down there. So they go down to this engine room where there's this star, and if they stay too long in there, their skin will burn up and die.
Which for two of them.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, the two. One of the Balen brothers gets killed by one of the zombies, and then the other two end up turning into zombies. Like you see these two that are sort of attached together. We have this idea that we find out that there's another sort of crack in time, or like a rupture in time in the TARDIS because of this accident. And what happens is they're seeing these images of their past. Then come to find out that these zombies are actually not just like monster creatures, they're images from the future. And we come to find out that Clara has died in the engine room, and that this zombie is of her, which was huge.
Dun dun dun.
But the Doctor ends up sort of changing the past by writing, on this little thing, and he ends up throwing it into the crack, and he ends up having to talk to himself to make sure it all goes right. And then he basically what it was the remote for the magnograb. The basically when the Doctor hits it, he turns off the magnograv and everything's fine. Their ship doesn't get sucked in.
Right.
They're good to go. So, but by doing this, he also sort of resets what happens, so Clara doesn't remember, that she saw his name or whatever she saw in the book. And then also, the Doctor and Clara, they also had this conversation about the big mystery about her, which was huge. But because he reset it now, they don't remember that either.
Well, he probably does.
Well,
she certainly does not.
That's the question I had about this. When he says, okay, I'm going to throw this in, or whatever, it's going to rewrite it, he's going to say, he says, we'll both have secrets again, or whatever. That to me says, okay, they're both not going to remember what happened. But then he says this line. Well, right. He says this line later when Clara's like, I'm exhausted. He goes, well, we've had 2 days in one. And my theory, so it's like, well, okay, now does he remember?
I see, and in the past in the show, we've seen just, he's a complicated space-time event. He knows, he always knows the two different versions, or the, it seems like he's aware of it.
Right. Well, my theory here is that the Doctor, when he sort of stepped into the crack and talked to himself, that made him sort of go, oh, maybe something had happened for a day or so, And so he's like, right. So he knows that there was a loop, and so that's when that's why he says, "Oh, we've had 2 days in the span of one. That's why we're so tired, or whatever."
That could be,
know. But that's kind of, that's sort of
now
my theory.
It would appear. No, that's a good theory, and now it would appear that we have an answer to, at least, that something happened in the Time War. To basically to the Doctor's name, to remove his name or to hide it, which kind of goes in with that theory about the weapon that he had to give up something precious in order to create the time seal.
We got it all figured out. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we got it, Moffat. You got nothing on us.
So he presses the button and everything's hunky dory at the end, and they fly off and all's good.
I've been reading, a lot of people were really upset by what they called the Deus Ex Machina, how it just sort of like, they never happened. The episode didn't matter, and they were, and, okay, to an extent I can kind of see what they're saying, but it was a good episode. I can agree. What is it?
I don't know. I can agree on a couple of points. I understand that, we don't want to blow the TARDIS up and not have the TARDIS anymore. So we got to go back and make sure that doesn't happen.
Right.
But as far as from a story standpoint, I loved the whole scene. I love this whole thing of Clara knows his name now, and this whole thing of now Clara knows the big secret that, oh hey, he's met two of me. This whole.
I wish they both could have retained.
Yeah. Yeah, and he confronts her about it. I'm like, yeah, they're moving this storyline along, hooray! But they now it's now I understand. Yeah, this whole thing of it all never happened, so it's kind of frustrating in that vein. But as far as the whole story of what happened with the TARDIS and all that, I understand making that go back. That's right.
Well, you have to.
That works. Yeah.
See, I think it was very clever. I think the whole story was sort of built around the idea that the Doctor couldn't let her go and couldn't let what was happening about her go. So he was there. He had to go back in. I really liked the brothers, even though a lot of people seem to have problems with them too.
My only problem with them is I had a really hard time understanding what they were saying. That was my only problem. They had a rough and tough English accent, so it was kind of like...
They really did. It was thick.
It was real thick. So I had the closed caption on the second time I watched it, and it made made more sense. So
right.
Yeah.
But I see, and that's the thing I don't understand, because people will keep saying well, we couldn't feel for them, that it didn't matter what happened to them, no one cared. And I'm like,
right.
I don't know what you're talking about. I felt all sorts of pathos for these characters, you know?
Yeah, well, I liked the story. At first, I was like, well, geez, that one brother's a real jerk. And then, you know, we get this sort of side story about the one brother being he thinks he's an android, and then it turns out that he was in an accident and he lost his memory and his eyes and mouth and voice. And so they gave him a new voice box and eyes, and they told him basically what happens is the older brother tells him he's an android, or the middle brother or whatever, so that he can be captain of the ship.
Right.
And so then what's nice is once the doctor resets everything, that's the thing, is like I'm trying to figure out how things changed there, because then at the end the picture has the younger brother in it, and you know, he's being nice to him and all that stuff.
Right.
So it's kind of an interesting thing there.
That's one of the things I think Moffat doesn't do well with a lot of this. I mean, the stories are really brilliant, the twists and turns and stuff, but he really doesn't go into what was retained and what was lost. You know, there's so much from him where it's just, you don't know, like, what did the Big Bang 2 really do? What did the cracks really eat? You know, how are we ever going to know what we're supposed to believe happened and what we don't? So there's all this question to it, and a lot of what he writes, that's it. That's what we're seeing. So I don't know. Maybe this is a prime example of, hey Moffat, if you don't mind, maybe just a really good like summary. You know, make it totally like the worst possible cliche, where as she walks away, he says something under his breath like, "If only I could tell you that you'll never remember that, you know, you once knew my name," or something, you know, but I remember, you know, dun 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 dun, and like that would help. I think that would help a lot.
Yeah. Well, and the thing with the brothers is, it's like at one point he tells him, "You remember this," and so it's like, okay, when he resets time, does he sort of remember
a little bit, or because he's treating him nicer?
Yeah, or maybe something is in the back of his mind. Something has changed because of these events, even though they haven't really experienced them. You know, it's somehow they have in the back of their minds. That's kind of an interesting thought there, that they changed that sort of. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I did like the idea that. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I liked in this one the TARDIS was like a central character, of course, but just sort of all the TARDIS tantrum. He said, "I feel a TARDIS tantrum coming on," and the way it diverted, and the way it diverted them to where they you know, it wanted them to go, or where she, I guess we could say where she wanted them to go.
Right.
You know, I've been feeling bad for the TARDIS this season.
You know, don't you?
She calls her an appliance in this one, and I'm like, oh, jeez, TARDIS is getting the rough end of the deal here.
But like we saw at the end of the last one, the TARDIS talked back to her. The TARDIS gave a little bit back to Clara. Yeah,
and this time it's like, this time I feel like it tried to help them out.
Yes.
So maybe that's what I was hoping for, was a little reconciliation between those two in this one, and we got that a little bit, but not really.
There's just so much now that I'm beginning to wonder, like, what if she's the TARDIS?
Yeah, I mean, that's
is the TARDIS.
Well, there's
such an idea.
There's a lot of ideas out there about just who she is, and everything seems to be in the show seems to be pointing towards she's just normal. She's just a normal girl.
He's a normal person. Yeah.
When he confronts her about this stuff, she's like, "Well, she goes, I have no idea what you're talking about. You know, I don't know anything about a future me or a past me or nothing. I don't know anything." And he's excited by this prospect. He says, "Okay, you're just Clara. You know, you're just, you know, you don't know. Hooray! You know." And so that with the thing in the last episode where she says she's just normal, you know, it's like it's still not giving us any answers. It's even more frustrating. There is something there, otherwise they wouldn't have brought it up. But
right.
but then they keep telling
It's a
us
dirty lie.
yeah. Then they keep telling us no, she's normal. She's normal. So, what is going on? Who knows?
That's a good question. Yeah, who knows? Well, Moffat,
Right.
the jerk.
I liked there was a key. Yeah, come on, man. I liked
really.
there was a key that he turned to switch the TARDIS to basic mode, and it said Smith. It said Smiths on it. I thought that was kind of interesting. And
Did it really?
yeah, I don't know exactly what that would really mean, but I thought that was interesting. It said Smiths on it, so like.
Well, because he always goes by John Smith.
John Smith. That's what I was thinking. So it's like the basic mode of the TARDIS is John Smith, and the
Right.
yeah,
That's funny.
it could be it. Who knows?
I'm wondering. I'm really like I'm trying to think. I'm trying to wrap my head around. There's something. They're hinting at something, and I can't seem to figure out exactly what they're hinting at. It feels like they're trying to tell us something without telling it to us, and I am missing the cue here.
Well, regarding what though? Like,
I don't know. That's the point. Is as I watch these episodes, it's like they keep winking at something. They keep saying, ooh, something here,
right?
And it's like I can't put my finger on it.
It's
So
it's probably going to be one of those things where once we find out something in the finale, then if we ever go back and watch this, it's like,
It all makes sense.
That's what was going on there. That's what's going on there. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I'm getting that too a little bit. There's a little bit of, I feel like
Weird,
there's
isn't
stuff
it?
there's stuff I hear and I'm like, oh, is that important or not? I don't know
Right.
if it's just some line. This one was funny too. There was a lot of good funny parts in it.
It was hilarious.
I like the whole where they go into the TARDIS and the guy goes, "Whoa, awesome," and the Doctor goes, "Well put, whoa and awesome."
I liked the interactions with the Doctor and those characters. He seemed like really into talking to them, really into like, yeah, this is you're members of my crew at the moment, kind of.
My favorite funny part was the funniest part for me was when he was telling them, "Oh, there is no self-destruct." He's like, "I just flipped some switches, did the old flippy switchy." And it's like, and then you got to do the face.
You got to do the face.
If we don't find her, she'll all die. I thought I rushed it a bit, but I don't know.
I thought I rushed it a bit.
That was hilarious. That he played that so well.
He did. Okay. Can you settle something for me here? I've been thinking about this now for a few days. The guy steals the thing from the room, the memory sphere or whatever, and then he has it in the backpack, and then he drops it.
Yeah.
And then you see him again later, and he's got it in his backpack again.
Right.
But he drops it and runs away.
I saw that too. There was a part where they were in this sort of room, and the TARDIS kept diverting them back to the same little area.
Yeah.
And they were like, and it was like, it's because you have the thing, and then the sort of Siamese twin zombies show up. And they're like, oh, and then the thing drops, the thing falls, like because the android brother is like, hey, it's like, you got to put it back. That's what's happening. And it falls, yeah. And I do remember seeing that. It like fell and kind of rolled on the ground.
And then they turn and run away in the other direction.
Yeah, I'm assuming he may have picked it back up. I don't know.
But like after that, the next scene, aren't they talking like, "I'm glad you put it back," or that's why we put it back, or good boy, or whatever. And
yeah, well, what happens is they get diverted to the control room, and the android brother says something along the lines of, "I think it's helping us because I tried to put it back." And he goes, and the Doctor says, "Yeah, that's right." And then the other guy shows up later, so maybe he went back to get it.
Maybe he went back and got it, yeah.
Yeah. He shows up a little later and he's got it. Oh, that thing was interesting. It was sort of it reminded me, it was an avatar tree, like this little globe's hanging down.
I loved that.
But basically, it makes any machine that you need. You know,
the TARDIS. Well, and that. What was it the Doctor was saying? That the Time Lords, they're brilliant, they're genius, and that's because they figured out that you want something alive, you want something that defends itself. But that's kind of what that could do. It can make anything. So maybe that's sort of why it's designed like that, as a defense mechanism.
Yeah, he said the Time Lords, no dress sense, dreadful hats, but they're geniuses.
They're geniuses. It's so true.
It's
Just
so
look
true,
at the things
man.
he's worn before.
Oh man, there's a picture of David Tennant, and he's got on some of the costumes from, I guess, probably from the End of Time, but it's like he's got on the Time Lord stuff. It's really funny to see him in it. Because you don't see that Time Lord stuff anymore, so it's kind of cool. But yeah, it's silly stuff. Big collars.
They've been silly for a long time.
A long, long time.
So
I liked the part where Claire's like running from the zombie. It was really weird because it kept, like, she would run by, and then she'd like run by a room, and she'd see it, and then she'd kind of laugh. Then she'd go, "Oh yeah, something's chasing me," and then she'd run some more. And then she'd stop by, "Oh, the pool, ha ha ha," and then she'd go, "Oh yeah," and then she'd run. Like, I was like, that's kind of weirdly edited there. Kind of a weird
that was
scene.
Hilarious. I liked it. It was almost for the kids. It was this little, like, I'm being chased. Ooh, library. Being chased. There's the pool.
Which I guess maybe she went for a swim later because she was wet at the end. Either that or she took a shower. I'm assuming she went in the pool because
I'm going with she took a swim because she saw it.
Yeah, I'm going with that. The library was really interesting.
Now you're just showing off.
Yeah. It was a huge, like, Beauty and the Beast type library, you know. She was like, whoa.
Right.
But the one cool thing was the Gallifreyan Encyclopedia, which was like liquid or something.
Yeah.
It was stored in bottles, and then one of them spilled, and like you could hear Timothy Dalton talking.
Mm-hmm.
As Rassilon, you know, saying some things, which was kind of funny. There was a lot of really cool, like, they took audio quotes from old stuff in this one.
Oh, I loved that.
Yeah.
Especially when he's in when the one guy's searching around the TARDIS, I guess, you know, in the main room, and you basically hear quotes from the very first episode where Susan is explaining what the TARDIS is, and you hear Ian Chesterton.
Yeah.
And he's like, and then space and time?
Yeah, and then you hear 9. He says, like, the hordes of Genghis Khan couldn't get through that door, and believe me, they've tried. Mm-hmm. You hear him in there, which is kind of cool. It's kind of cool to have 9, you know, in there. Especially because all the news, you know, he's not going to be part of the 50th anniversary, and
right,
just like stuff like we don't get. It seems like everyone's into 10 and 11, and you don't get a lot of 9 stuff callbacks, which I'm glad when they do call back to that first season, because that's fun to hear. Speaking of the console room, the guy takes apart the console. He like takes a big chunk off of it. I'm assuming the time vortex is not under the console anymore, as it used to be. Because it used to be able to open it up, you know, and then Rose turned into the Bad Wolf and all that jazz.
Right. But that was a very specific. The TARDIS facilitated that with Rose, and what's her face. The TARDIS like made that a reality, so that way these people would be involved somehow, you know, however they were involved. So I don't think it was ever really under the TARDIS console. I just think the TARDIS projected it from the console when it was needed. That makes sense.
It just made sense. Well, it just made sense that it was like in the middle. You know, it was like right under and it was under the little glass thing that goes up and down. You know, so
right.
But yeah, it could. You know, it's wherever.
I was throwback in this episode for old Who fans. The Eye of Harmony, which showed up in the movie. with the only airing of Doctor Number 8.
Yep.
And it was really nice to see, or to kind of, in the movie, it's just this big clamshell that opens, and there's like crazy stuff going on, wind and stuff, and it's sucking things in, and obviously because it was a star, but you never see that, and it was really cool to see them inside the Eye of Harmony. I felt like that was a really cool throwback.
Yeah, well, in this one, in this TARDIS, it's just like, it's in a room, and there's a bridge you can walk across to see it, if you want to see it. For
I'm sure
few
it was
seconds
in the other
before you
before you die.
Yeah. Let's see.
It's just kind of like strolling through. Like, do. I'm a Time Lord.
Yeah.
Walking, burning up and dying. Regenerate.
I liked her punching him in the arm. Like,
yeah, it was funny.
When he saves her, and she's like, and he thinks she's going to be like, oh, Doctor, and she like punches him in the arm. And she's like, why do you have zombies on your ship?
What was he says? He's like, I miss the hugging.
He goes, okay, we're not hugging. I understand. I get it. Or whatever. He punches him again. That was hilarious.
For good measure.
Yeah. I want to talk about this. This sort of the last couple of scenes here. The whole "you died again," like that was that. I literally was like, no, because I thought we were going to lose Clara again.
Right, again.
Like for sure, I thought we were going to lose Clara.
Right.
And the reason I really thought that was because I know in the next episode there's sort of some mumblings going on about the Clara in this episode, because she's got some kind of curly hairdo going on. Is she a different kind of Clara, or is it just Clara with her hair done or something?
Right.
So in this one, she would have had to have died in this episode for the next one to be like different or something.
Right.
So when that happened, I thought, oh no, I was like, I can't believe this is happening. And then he fixed it, but I mean, that was just basically he figured it out, that he figured out that was her. And then he goes, I brought you here to save you again, but you died again.
Right.
And that was just like, boom.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. But luckily it wasn't the case.
Right.
So I guess what he did, though, was basically he just said, well, now that I know that happens, I'm just going to make sure that doesn't happen.
Right.
Am I right in thinking that's basically what he did?
Yeah, I think you're onto something there with that. Seriously, I do think he remembers everything that happened in the episode, and because he remembers, he's more prepared to save her from craziness. I don't know. I just feel like we're. God dang it, Moffat! will you just tell us what you're doing?
Yeah,
just
he doesn't.
Bit.
He doesn't stop the other two brothers from like being turned into the zombies, the Siamese zombies. He doesn't stop them from happening, but I guess because they push the one off or something over the edge or something, and then Clara gets out of the room. Like that was the whole thing. It was like, well, if Clara just leaves the room, she'll be fine.
Well, but it wasn't. Well, yes and no. I mean, I guess something could still happen.
Right, and the other thing, I saw another interesting thing online, which was that was kind of weird that happened, because if we remember in The Angels Take Manhattan, there was this whole thing about once we know something's going to happen, it's going to happen. And maybe that had to do with it being written down.
See, it's...
But that... Yeah.
Yes. Yes and yes. The whole idea that once you know the future, it can't be changed, that's not true. You can still change the future if it's something like a possible future. Remember, it was leaking time, so he says it's a possible outcome. And that's important to kind of note on it, that it was something, but he believes it could be changed because it wasn't written. It wasn't something that had already happened. It was something that could have happened. That being said, the Pond's death was written. It had already happened.
Right.
So.
Okay. Well, there you go.
At least that's what
This
I
is
got
my
out of it.
Yeah.
Well, if you have all the answers, Matt, why don't you just write the show? I'd
Right.
love to. Thank you, Taylor.
I'd
Yes. Indeed.
You're welcome.
Poppycock.
Indeed.
Indeed.
So there was this. So then we get this other really great scene that just these two scenes I just loved, and then we get to this other scene where they get out onto this cliff, which basically they find out is just the TARDIS snarling at them.
Yeah.
By giving them this, here's what he calls it, by giving them this room, just sort of scare them off.
Right.
Which is just a cliff. And we get this whole scene of basically what I've been saying the whole season of like, just tell her, just say, hey, look, there was and he basically does. He basically goes, hey, there was a girl on Asylum of the Daleks,
Right.
and she died, and it was you. And there was this girl in Victorian England, and she helped me, and she died, and it was you. And I'm like, thank you. He's just saying, he's just saying these things.
Well,
And then she goes, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She goes, I'm not them, and I'm more frightened of you now. Like, but that makes sense. Like, she has no idea. He's going on about all this stuff, saying, you were this girl, and you were a Dalek, and you died, and da-da-da. I mean, if anyone walked up to you and told you that, you would freak out a little bit and be like, I don't know what you're smoking, but no.
Yeah, and the thing that frustrates me is like now she doesn't remember any of this.
Or does she? He assumes she doesn't remember.
Right. It would be nice, but that's the thing though. It would be nice if we had that sort of movement in this plot, this sort of character development. So then that way, like from now on, they could be like it's a mystery to her too. She wants to figure out.
See, and that would be great. I'd
what
love
these
it to be a
things,
mystery
yeah,
for
what
both
these
of
things
them.
are, and then they try to work on it and solve it together, which would be awesome. But
And if they could get a robotic dog, they could totally be Scooby-Doo.
oh my god, yes.
Oh my god, the Doctor, Clara, and K9 would be the perfect team.
Oh my, I would love for K9 to come back, even for just an episode. But like, as a regular character, that would just be the best.
I miss K9.
I do too.
Oh, now I'm sad. I miss Mary Jane. Mary Jane.
Aw.
Sarah Jane.
How dare you?
This isn't Spider-Man, Matthew. Come on now.
We're smoking Mary Jane, that's what it is.
No.
No.
Stay on the
Scooby-Doo.
drugs, kids.
I know where your mind's at.
Yeah. And it's funny because I'm like the lamest, most square human being ever. I don't smoke anything.
And then so then they jump off the cliff, and I was like, Moffat, stop making our main characters jump off of things. I mean, really. You get them, you get the ponds. River jumps off several things.
Always
then-
into the TARDIS, though.
Right. And then Sherlock, obviously, jumps off the building and it's the end. It's
That's
just like,
Moffat's thing.
I know. It's like, stop him. Stop it.
Perhaps you would call it a leap of faith.
Oh. Oh.
And so Matt makes the ultimate pun.
He's the Punisher.
The Punisher. I love our late night sessions. I really do.
I do too. Okay, let's see.
Yeah.
Oh, we're almost to the end here. There's this really cool scene too where they get to the engine room and it's like it's frozen, but it's like frozen mid explosion.
Right.
It's really cool. It's just this white room. All the pieces are like suspended in air, and they're just like walking around. It's pretty neat. I like that.
It was a really cool effect, and it really pontificated things.
Yeah, and it was really sad too because the Doctor basically is broken
She's
up.
always been there for me.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know what to do. And then I really loved. He sort of gets sort of really sad about it, and Clara runs up and grabs his hand. I thought that was really sweet.
It was very sweet. Because
And
remember,
then-
every
and
time
then-
he meets someone, he grabs their hand and says, "Run!"
Yeah. Yeah, and then she's been the one to sort of grabbed his hand this time, and even the Victorian Clara. I like the part where she grabs his hand that whole scene where he's like, no, the hand grabbing, I do that. So that's me. So yeah, he's definitely different. He's definitely different from all the other companions.
Yes. I think she means something more to him. I'm really excited to see what that's going to be.
Well, I saw an interview, or it's a quote from an interview from Jenna Louise Coleman about the season finale. And basically, it's been confirmed that the mystery of Clara will be solved in the finale. But then she also says, yeah, it's awesome. And she also says that she's just like, I can't really say anything. Let's just say the Doctor hasn't just met Clara 3 times or something.
Interesting.
Yes, that is super interesting.
That's an interesting quote.
Yeah. That makes it seem like she's going to be... It turns out she's actually a character from the old show or something. Or they could just say, oh, well, there's going to be another scene where he meets another Clara or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Which
could be this next one. That everyone's kind of... Which we'll talk about when we get there. But, yeah. So that's really interesting that he said that.
That's a good point. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Interesting.
Ooh, yeah.
All right. Ooh. Yes. Indeed.
So then, yeah. So then, I like the thing with where he writes "big friendly button" on it. And so you have this whole thing where she grabs it in the beginning and it burns her hand, and then throughout the whole thing she's kind of blowing on her hand, and they keep cutting to her hand, and you're like, what's it saying? I can't tell. You know, it kind of there's
right.
And then by the end you can really tell what it says, and so I like that that is cool. I like this episode in the fact that it's timey-wimey. You know, there haven't really been any of those episodes lately, except for
season 7.
I would say maybe the Angels Take Manhattan is the closest one, but not really. I mean, this is the only one where it's like some huge events of time or reset or something to that effect or anything like that. So kind of cool to see that.
Yeah, I know you like the timey-wimey ones.
I do. I really do. That's kind of one of my favorites. I mean, I loved Lost to begin with, but then when they incorporated time travel, I was like, oh man, this just got 100 times better. It was the best.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything's made better by time travel.
It is. So yeah, that's all I had on my thoughts on this episode.
We've gone over everything. I don't have much else.
I mean, really,
the
just
episode itself.
The best of the season so far for me. I mean, that's...
Oh God, far and wide. The Hive was a really good close second for me.
Yeah, I would say my next favorite is probably Asylum of the Daleks. And then
oh, are we counting? Yeah, the first part of season. Sure.
Yeah, and then maybe the Angels Take Manhattan was really good too.
But see, Asylum of the Daleks still stands out as the best, I think, for this season. And this would be a close second. Rings of Akaten for me is a third.
Yeah. That's the hard thing is they've all been really, really good. So it's hard to choose. But I really enjoy some of the more sci-fi ones, and definitely the Daleks. So yeah,
Daleks are my favorite. I don't care what people say; they're the best villain ever. And
I'm sure this order will change because we've got Cybermen coming up. So
don't we?
I know that's my next highly anticipated episode. So yeah,
I'm with you.
Woohoo!
So I guess it's time.
Time for what, Matt?
Just a little segment I like to call, oh my god, that promo!
Oh my god, that promo!
Oh my god, the promo. Okay,
so this one looks interesting. This is probably the only one I know. I really know almost nothing about. You know what I mean?
I think they've kept it that way. Yeah.
I think that this one could end up surprising us and being huge as far as like moving the plot along or something.
Mm-hmm.
But it just looks like it's going to be just sort of a one-off episode. The only thing I really know about it is that it's got Madame Vastra and Jenny and Strax are in this one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about all I know.
Well, they keep talking about the Crimson Horror, and then they show like this red goop.
Yeah.
And in the back of my mind, I keep thinking the Flash. Like, it reminds me a lot of the Flash.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. Well, when I saw the promo, I guess I sort of put together this plot in my head. First of all, the town is called Sweet Town or something, or Sweetville. It's called Sweetville, which for some reason makes me think that there's going to be a story about like they're making candy out of people or something, and like the red goo, and the red goo is like the candy or something. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's what it looks like from this. And the old lady, she's making candy out of people and get this plan. That's what it looks like. I'm sure that's not it, but
well,
what I saw.
Well played, Taylor. Well played.
Just kind of a first glance, looks like it might be about, but who knows?
God, I hope not. I mean, that sounds great.
No, I really don't think so, because they say something about the venom. They call this red stuff the venom in the promo. They say this venom could, and it's always one of those, this venom could wipe out every human on Earth, or so, always, the stakes are always the end of the world, But
I mean, if it was like the fate of England, okay, it was. If it was the fate of like, it's the fate of 3 houses on this street, I'm not inclined to care.
Yeah,
the doctor would even be like, I don't know, I'm not sure.
That's interesting you say that, because it makes me think of Vampires in Venice, where basically he just saves Venice. And the lady says, you couldn't let this one city go for our whole race of people. So
it's the fate of Venice.
Yeah, so he just saves, the one town, or the one, so that's kind of interesting. You say that, like, if it was like just England, he wouldn't care or something,
Right.
Yeah.
The fate of 8 people. Okay. I guess I actually got this other thing, but I can come back. Like,
yeah.
Could you make it the fate of 15? I don't know.
Yeah.
Quantify it here.
Round it up to 20 and we'll talk.
I'm busy fighting and saving the world from Daleks. 8 people? Come on. The worst villain ever.
You guys
Sorry,
work it out.
You guys work it out. Indeed.
Let's see. I'm trying to think. I'm excited to see Strax and Jenny and Madame Vastra again. That's going to be kind of fun to see them again.
I love them.
I do
so
too.
Great.
Yeah. There's a short little clip you can see where like looks like Jenny like judo flips somebody over or something. That'll be cool. Yeah. They didn't really do much fighting in the Snowmen, but we saw them, in Good Man Goes to War. They did a lot of sort of
right
fighting and stuff there, so it'll be cool to we get to see that kind of stuff again.
Mm.
There's like tracks running through down a hallways blasting
a laser off. Yeah,
and he's in his armor. Yeah, and he's in his armor, which is cool. He's not in like the suit that he was wearing. He's in his Santarin armor.
Ooh,
yeah,
didn't even think of that. That's a good point.
Yeah,
maybe he's reminiscing.
Maybe. Or maybe there's, he's like, this calls for battle armor.
Now that I know it's an alien threat, I shall don my battle armor.
And he shall be successfully obliterated.
Obliterated on the field of battle.
Oh man, Strax is great. I'm glad he's coming back.
Perhaps I should get the memory worm. Yay, Strax.
Yeah. I think I've been run over by a cab. Oh, man.
All right. Well, hey,
Well,
great
I think that's all I
episode.
got. Yeah. I look forward to it, and I hope you all enjoyed the episode this week, and we will see you all next week.
Indeed.
Yes.
Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Poppycock.
Yes, indeed.
Indeed.
Yes,
Indeed.
quite.
Yes, quite. Indeed.
Smashing.
Goodbye.